I'm back! It's been like an entire month since I actually sat down and recorded anything, and I couldn't be more excited to be back. So to kick things off this year, I thought I'd go ahead and attempt to make a beat using only 3x oscillator in FL Studio. So anyway, why don't we just go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so here it is, 3x oscillator. So for everyone out there who isn't too familiar with 3x oscillator, it is a pretty basic synth. All you get is a choice of 6 different oscillator shapes, and then pretty much the only other thing that you can do with it is add some volume, cutoff, and pitch envelopes, and yeah, that's about it. It's pretty basic. So I won't just be using straight raw sounds out of 3x oscillator. I could do that, but it would sound pretty bad. So instead, I'll be using a combination of 3x oscillator and a few effects on top. So anyway, I think we should start off by making the kick drum. This should be pretty easy. So I'm gonna start off with a sine wave. Nice. And then I'll just add on a pitch envelope and I'll turn the amount right down. And I may as well change up the volume envelope as well. So that's my basic kick sound. I'm going to move on to my snare. And I know that this doesn't sound very good at the moment, but I'll get on to adding all of the effects on later on. I just want to get all the basic sounds out of the way, and then I can make it sound better later on. Maybe off camera, because it might take me a while. So anyway, next up, I'm going to make a snare. Cool. So for the snare, to make it easier on myself, I'm just going to clone the kick. And then I'm just going to add on a second oscillator, which can be white noise. And I'll just change up the envelopes a little bit. And then one last thing to actually make the snare sound a bit better, I'm going to bring it into a mixer channel. And then I'm just going to make the sound mono. Like this. So it sounds pretty basic at the moment, but I'll fix it up later. So may as well make a hi-hat next just to finish up the drums. I don't actually know what genre I'm going for, so I don't know what sort of hi-hat to make. But either way, I'm just going to have to use some noise anyway, so I'll just put on one oscillator of noise. Oh, that's loud. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add in some mod Y. I'm sure it wasn't always called mod Y. That's starting to sound like a closed hat. That sounds pretty bad. So now that I've got some very rough drums made up, I'm just going to go ahead and make up some synthesizers and stuff like that. So, here we go. I think I might go for a sort of saw sound. Yuck. Just detune it a little bit. And I'll just put an envelope on the cutoff. This is starting to look like a mess. That's one thing I don't miss about FL Studio, is how everything can just cluster on top of each other rather than being in set spaces. I'll try and keep it as tidy as possible, but I apologize because it's going to look like a total mess. So that's a basic source synth. So now I'm just going to go ahead and make another synth. Maybe I'll do a bass. So for this I'll just go sine wave. That's D. Then I might just put a saw wave on top. Turn the filter down. And I'll put a little bit of a slide on. Nice, that seems to work pretty well. So now I want to make something that's sort of like a bell. I just want to make a sound that has a really long release. So for now, I'm just going to do triangle waves. Put a massive release on it. That's a bit too big. Sounds alright. Make everything the same octave. And put a bit of detune on. I'll come back to this one later, but I think it's going to sound pretty good after I put on some effects. So we've got kick, snare, closed hat, saw synth, bass, and a bell. Bell? Oh, I don't know what happened to my voice. A bell. Nice. So I still don't know what genre I'm going to go with. I might go for like a slow 100 BPM. That's a pretty good kick. Pretty basic beat, but it works for now. It will do. So I'll just place the patterns into the playlist. This isn't actually how I'd make my songs in FL Studio as well. So if you see me doing something a little bit weird, it's because it's not my usual workflow. So next up, we are gonna do the basic chord progression. I think I'm ready. Let's do this. Okay, the chord progression sounds alright. Let's move on to the bass. Sounds alright. And now it's time to record the last instrument for now, the little bell thing. Let's do this. That was easy. Okay, so right now, that sounds pretty bad. But don't worry, it will get better. I hope. Otherwise, my first video of the year is going to be a complete failure. So now that I have a very rough song structure made up, I'm going to go make things sound a little bit better. But I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera just because I think it'll make it a bit more easy and it'll be pretty boring to watch. So yeah, let's do this. Now, okay, so that ended up taking me a really long time. I'm kind of glad that I didn't end up filming all that because it ended up taking me around 4 to 5 hours. But anyway, I think I'll just give you a quick little rundown of all the changes that I made to all the sounds so that you can see how I got the sounds from where they were to where they are now. So yeah, let's check it out. So I know that this looks a lot different to what it looked like before, but not a lot has really changed. Then you can see all of the effects that I put on. Reverbs, EQs, delays. Simple. But what I did end up doing is I ended up layering multiple sounds together. So for example, I took my snare sound and then I put on 2 other layers of noise and I just put them on a new layer and here we go. That's all the sounds put together. And I pretty much just did that for each of the sounds. I ended up changing up the source synth a little bit. And then I also layered on another synth on top, which just plays an octave higher. And that one also has some other effects on it. So the bell sound, I changed a little bit. I changed it to a saw wave, I think. Yes. I also ended up layering this one by putting a completely dry version. So when you put those two together, they end up sounding like this. Much better. I also added in a couple more instrument tracks, nothing special. Just a pad sound, which is a slightly modified version of the saw synth. And then I went ahead and added an arpeggio, which I just took the bell sound and put an arpeggiator on it. Pretty simple. And to finish things off, I made some noise sounds. So these are just rises. That sort of stuff. Really basic, it's just noise with a bit of filter on it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I know that I didn't actually have to show all my changes that I made, but I just thought that some people will accuse me of cheating. But I can guarantee you that all of these tracks are 3x oscillator. Every single one. Oh, that's another thing that I made quickly. I also made a clap. So I pretty much just took the snare sound and just made it a lot shorter and added in some delay and stuff. And then, yeah. There's a clap. So that is my breakdown of all my changes that I made. Why don't we go have a listen to what the song actually sounds like? And once again, everything in the song was made using 3x oscillator. So there we go, a song made using only 3x oscillator. I'm so happy to be back. Yee. I've been wanting to film so bad over the last couple of weeks, but I've been waiting for all my lighting equipment and stuff like that to show up. But now that it's all here, I can finally start doing regular uploads again. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I gotta be careful when I do this because now I have a microphone above me. Bye.